Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. My name is Dimpi Agarwal, and I'm the Customer Success Manager at VWO. I'm really excited to be hosting this webinar with Toby Osmond, who's the CEO of HobbyKing, an international developer and distributor of hobby goods and accessories. Hi, Toby. How are you doing today?
I'm well, thanks. Hi, Dimpy. How are you?
Good, good. So, how's the weather in Perth?
It's lovely. Lovely, sunny, blue skies. Can't complain at all.
Perfect. That sounds lovely. All right. So, our viewers who might be wondering why they cannot see Toby's face, I would like you to be a little patient because your wish will be fulfilled soon. So, in today's webinar, I'm in conversation with Toby about Hobby King's messaging strategy regarding their cart abandonment campaigns and how, by using VWO Engage, there was an increase in conversion by 33%. So all the attendees who have a couple of questions for us, we will be taking this up at the end of the webinar, and you can post your questions in our questions panel at GoToWebinar. Okay, so before I start the presentation, I would like to talk a little more about VWO Engage. So before 2019 August, you must be aware of the two products, which is VWO and Pushthrough. There were two separate products under one parent company, which is Wingify. So VWO basically lets you identify friction in your conversion funnel and fixes those points using an experiment-driven approach. With Pushthrough, it's basically our web push notification and Facebook Messenger product, which lets you engage and re-engage with your website visitors in real time using crisp messaging, right? So a year and a half back, we sat down to revisit a very important question. We actually wanted to ask ourselves, who are we? So after a lot of discussions and customer surveys, we identified that we are essentially helping businesses optimize experiences for their online visitors, right? And taking this important insight ahead, we decided to basically reposition our VWO to an optimized experience optimization platform, a platform that helps you with a platform that actually helps you optimize your customer journey right from engagement to conversion and after. And hence, we decided to absorb Pushthrough and rebrand it as VWO Engage. In case you have you need to know a lot more about VWO Engage, there will be a handout where you can download the handout from our GoToWebinars page. Now, in case if you're more curious to know about VWO, you can simply visit vwo.com or you can send me an email at this email ID. Now, I wish I actually had the voice of Bruce Buffer, but now it's time to start our conversation with Toby. So I would request you, Toby, to basically enable your camera and I'll stop my screen sharing. Over to you, Toby.
Great. Thanks, Dimpy. How are you going? Feels funny to see myself on the screen.
Yes, it does. All right. So we would love to give our audience a quick backdrop of HobbyKing. And so could you tell us more about how your company is and what is your role in the company so far?
Sure. Okay, well, HobbyKing.com is a pure play e-commerce store that specializes in hobbies. So we started off in 2008 selling small electronic components for remote control airplanes and helicopters. And since then, we've diversified into many other categories. You can imagine the term hobby allows us to sort of branch into anything that takes up your spare time. We now operate across 32 different categories, including 3D printing and archery and paint supplies. But our bread and butter is still in remote control toys. We have offices all over the world, London, New York, Sydney, Hong Kong, China. And we also have distribution outlets all over the world, which are fulfillment centers, because we're a pure play e-commerce venture. So our fulfillment centers are over on the west coast of the States, the Netherlands, the UK, China, Hong Kong, Australia, and they help us service almost 3 million customers.
Okay, that sounds really lovely. I mean, that's hell of one of a ride for you. Opening up so many offices, I mean, that must be pretty hectic for you, right?
Yeah, especially working across all those different time zones. Often you just sort of forget who you're calling, and yeah, you could dial someone that you think might be in the London office, but they're actually in the Sydney office, and it's 2 a.m.
Right.
and you get a pretty grumpy reply on the other end of the phone call.
Right. Perfect. So, out of curiosity, I wanted to ask you. So, what prompted you to explore push notifications for HobbyKing, and basically, how did you get through VWO Engage?
Yeah, right. So we've got a pretty large and varied database. It's global, and we needed another way to connect with our customers. Um,
Right.
we have been using email just like every other marketer out there for years and years and years, and it's been very successful. But we needed more touch points with the user. So it made sense that these days everyone has one of these in their pocket. It made sense that we tried to start reaching them out through their phones. So we started using text. Um,
Right.
so SMS was fantastic. However, it's very expensive, and
Yes.
and we started looking for alternatives. Um,
Yeah.
the other commonality that users had was that they were all using a browser to
Mhm.
access our site, and
Right.
and we started looking into the idea of these push notifications. So the push notifications would allow us to reach people at scale, and when we started delving into it, it actually turned out that it was way more cost effective than using SMS. So we
Right.
kept pursuing that,
Mhm.
and I'm glad we did.
That sounds lovely. Perfect. So, what was your primary business or marketing goal that you were trying to achieve with the new channel? And were there any particular pain points that you wanted to solve with push notifications in place?
Well, the thing that we were trying to achieve was just an increase in traffic, right? Once we had the customers on the site, then it was our job to try convert them. So we were really trying to push as much traffic as possible. Um, we, like I said, we'd experimented with SMS before we eventually settled on using push notifications with Pushcrew, and we were using SMS for our US customers, and we found that it had a pretty good hit rate, but 97% of those users came from mobile devices, which
Right.
wasn't a surprise. But it was really difficult for us to scale that globally because a lot of our customers were in Europe and a lot were in Australia and Asia. So we needed something that would allow us to scale. You can imagine with mobile phones, there's so much regulation around sending um, you know promotional messages, and all of those regulations change from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So we needed something that was going to allow us to still connect with the customer without breaching any of those privacy issues. And
Right.
push notifications was the one that we chose.
Perfect. That's actually a perfect choice for us. I mean, we got to get in touch with you for this. So, my next question to you would be, what type of campaigns have you created for web push notifications?
Well, so actually, this was the suggestion from Push Crew when we first started off with Push Crew. They said, look, start really simple and
Right.
just get the simple messaging working, and then you can start building on top of that. So we
Right.
started off just with a very, very simple and blunt notification to users about our new items that we're releasing every week. And
Right.
uh, and immediately we saw a really, really good response to that. And then we started playing with some of the segmentation in the messaging,
Right.
and again we started seeing some good results. Um,
Mhm.
Luckily, we've had the Push Crew team holding our hands to make sure that we
Right.
get the most out of those, because we're actually a really small team.
Mhm.
So they've been really instrumental and actually essential in helping
Right.
us be able to drill down, particularly around geolocating our messaging. So now we can geo-target a particular message to say just the US for the 4th of July promotion that we run every year, or we
Right.
could geolocate something to France in French for say
Right.
Bastille Day, um, and then as we've gotten more confident with the program, and we've been able to layer on more complexity,
Mhm.
now we can drill down on a particular category. You can imagine a train customer is not
Yeah.
interested in what a model airplane customer is being sold. So it was very important for us to be able to drill down into category specific messaging, language
Mhm.
specific geolocation, and
Right.
um, and now we're actually, it's it's classic marketing. We want something to be as relevant to the customer as possible, and we're just drilling down into even more personalization with age segmentation, demographic segmentation, and tweaking the messages according to the size of the screen that they're using. So if they're accessing from, say, a mobile device or a desktop device, there'll be two different messages there. Obviously, you want something to be more concise and mobile. So yeah, I guess the takeaway is that we just started quite simple and got the wheels turning, and then as we got more confident with it, Push Crew helped us develop all of the complexities and get the most out of the platform.
That sounds lovely, Toby. That's pretty insightful for our viewers as well. So, what was your messaging strategy for this channel, like while you were exploring VWO Engage?
Well, I mean, any marketer will tell you, and it's a cliche, but content is king. So we
Yes.
put a huge amount of thought into the content of our messages and the
Yes.
copy, and we do a lot of A/B testing as well to make sure that we're using something that's going to give us the best return. We particularly around push notifications, there isn't a lot of time to grab your user's attention. So we make sure that the copy is really concise and simple, and normally has a
Yes.
very quick call to action.
Yes.
Again, it's all about relevance. So if you're serving something that's not relevant to your customer, you're not going to be able to engage them. So so making sure that content is good. If you can match it with some really great eye-catching and sort of popping graphics, then all the more to you. I mean, probably our most notable and successful campaign was our Easter egg promotion, where we used a big gold Easter egg image, and we had something mysterious down the bottom saying "reveal the mystery deal."
Right.
Now that had a click-through rate of 7.7%. I mean,
Oh,
that's extraordinary for something that's just incredibly generic, right? And the messaging behind that didn't even take that long to make, so it was just a really good fit for the time of year and the promotion, and that did really well for us. Any marketer will tell you that a 7.7% click rate is really good when you're dealing with the numbers that we're dealing with, right? Another really strong one was our free shipping campaign. When we launched free shipping, we obviously did a push through our normal email promotions, but then we did push notifications as well. And surprisingly, we had an almost 10% CTR in that. So that was another really good one for us. So yeah, the takeaway is really content is king, relevance is really the goal, I guess. And if you marry that with graphics, then you're onto a winning formula.
Of course, of course. So while we are actually discussing about your cart abandonment problem, how did you actually approach to this problem using push notifications?
Well, for us, we were happy enough just using the reminder. So just a straight reminder to a customer that was trigger based when a customer had abandoned his cart, just to remind him that there's something in their cart. We actually saw an excellent conversion rate on that, and we have toyed with the idea of incentivizing that, so providing some kind of discount to get them to come back, or free shipping, or upgrading their shipping. But we were actually really happy with just the success rate, just from the straight reminder that we used, and that was enough to lift our conversion rate for abandoned carts significantly.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So, what were the results if I talk about post launching the campaign? What were the results in terms of conversions or click rates to say about?
Oh, yeah, look, our conversion rate went up. It was between 25 and 33%. It's difficult to nail down exactly how much it was, because we were doing it in conjunction with other promotions, which may have affected the conversion rate. But we reckon a minimum would be 25%, and a maximum probably be about 33%. So yeah, if you could extrapolate those numbers, the numbers make sense. Yeah, as marketers, we're always trying to chase the return, and we found that was a really good return for us.
Of course. So, Toby, like you mentioned, you were earlier using email marketing, right? And you recently switched to push notifications. How would
Yep.
you compare the impact for both the channels in terms of revenue?
Yeah, right. So we didn't switch from email to push. We actually use them both at the same time, and we're just trying to have multiple points of communication with our customer. And often we use different messaging for each of them. Um,
Right,
so I guess your question is really going to like how does the revenue compare, or how does the return on ad
right,
spend? So all the marketers right now are talking about ROAS, return on ad spend. Um,
right.
it's a little bit unfair to compare the push notification ROAS against EDMs
Right.
because um, our customers have been using EDM since day dot. So they're trained to know that that's where they go to get their messaging, and I guess the numbers sort of reflect that. The ROAS that we're getting from Push Crew is around about $12 US, which is actually really strong compared to a lot of our other advertising spends.
Right.
If you compare that to emails are around about $40,
Mhm.
and then yeah, we use some other messaging tools that work through Facebook, and they're coming at around $30. But I guess the way to look at it is because it doesn't operate in a vacuum. It's operating with all of those other channels working as well. That you're
Mhm.
tapping into a $12 ROAS that you never would have had at all.
Right.
That was missed revenues. It was a missed opportunity, right? So
Mhm.
I think when you're using it with all of the other things, it makes sense. Um,
So,
if you had to break it down to sort of percentages, I guess um, it's contributing around about 2% of our overall revenue right now, and with a conversion rate of about 5.5%. Uh,
right.
Comparatively, EDMs produce about 13% of our traffic, and they've got just a slightly lower conversion rate, obviously because they're going out to more people.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So if I talk about the impact on revenue and on your business goals, how has push notification impacted your business goals so far?
Oh, look, I think it's been very strong, particularly because it was so easy to implement. And I mentioned that we're a really small team. So
Right.
we're constantly looking for help from partners to help us get the most out of the platforms that we're using. So Pushcrew really did hold our hands all the way through, and they paired us up with someone that was a customer success manager. So I should tell everyone I'm not getting paid to say this, but
Mhm.
the Push Crew team really did make sure that we were using segmentation. They were actually proactively pushing us to make
Right.
sure that we were getting the most out of our spend, which was really useful because you can imagine when you're getting pulled in 10 different directions. Normally, it's
Mhm.
just the loudest voice gets the most energy, or the squeakiest wheel gets the most oil. But
Right.
yeah, Push Crew was they sort of made sure we stayed focused and
Mhm.
really helped us get the most out of it. So yeah, we're really happy with it. We're happy with the click-through rates. We're happy with
Right.
the revenue. We're happy with the traffic. So yeah, no complaints there at all.
So I believe that you've already answered my last question, I guess. How was your overall experience with VWO Engage? But anything else that you would like to mention in terms of our product support team?
Um, yeah, look, product support team has been very good for us. Whenever we've had a question, they've been very quick to answer.
Right.
If there's been any issues that we needed to troubleshoot, they've been very quick to help us troubleshoot them. Um, yeah, sorry, I don't have much more to say about that.
Perfect, perfect. So, while we are almost at the end of our webinar, but our attendees would love to know more about you. So, what books are you currently reading? I mean, what keeps you motivated in terms of your ongoing life?
Yeah, I'm uh, sorry, wrong. I'm trying to think. Sort of caught me off guard. I really enjoy behavioral psychology. I think
Okay.
behavioral psychology ties in nicely with marketing.
Hmm.
It's sort of the driving factors behind why people make certain choices. So
Right.
yeah, there's some really easy to read books that were really popular a few years ago by a chap named Malcolm Gladwell.
Okay.
He's recently just released a new book called Talking to Strangers, which is
Oh,
about, he argues that the tools that we use to evaluate strangers aren't
right.
very good. And and how that helps us influence conflict and misunderstanding. And I guess for me as a marketer, it helps me understand my customers better as well. So that's what I'm reading at the moment. Not very saucy, a bit boring,
Perfect.
sorry.
That's a really good recommendation. I mean, I am going to get this book on board with at our office library as well. All right. So, any advice that you would like to give to our other business owners who are in process of exploring web push notification services for their business?
Yeah, don't delay, because I promise you, your competitors are probably looking at push notifications, and you just want to be first in, best dressed, So my advice would be, don't delay. Um, to me, it's a real no-brainer. It's a digital form of communication with your customer. It's another touch point that they can interact with you. It's another way to stay front of mind. So yeah, honestly, just pull the trigger, and you won't regret it.
Perfect. So our conversation has been pretty insightful for all our audiences. Now, one last question before we actually end the webinar. How can the audience get in touch with you? Like, are you available on LinkedIn or Twitter? How can they reach out to you? Because
Yeah,
I'm
look,
pretty sure most of them would love to connect with you over social channels as well.
sure. For professional connections, LinkedIn's always best.
Yes,
And if anyone has any questions about any of the tools that we use, or the business, they're more than welcome to reach out to me, and I'll do my best to answer the questions.
perfect. All right. So, okay, now let me have a look at the questions if we have. All right, so this is it, folks. You will get the recording in your email IDs. Thank you so much for attending this webinar. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you for having
Thanks.
me.